So, childhood. I had a great childhood. My parents are like my best friends even to this day, which some people would say that's a good thing and some people would say that's a bad thing, but I think it's a great thing. We're super close. But we didn't believe in God. Like, I remember like a few times we would visit a church. Like, I remember being little. I remember having a Precious Moments Bible, and I remember like trying to read it a couple of times and trying to kind of understand, but there was just no foundation. There was never a foundation of God, and we had some pretty strong views about it, like, just religious people trying to control us and using the Bible to control us, some of the typical stuff that you hear. And I grew up with that. And I remember being like drawn to the church a few times, just even as a teenager. And it was sad because those experiences, those moments of like starting to open up and try to understand, there were people that were there that just completely freaked me out. And it made it easy to walk away from, because I was like, those people are weird and they're telling me all the things that I'm not doing right, and they make me feel bad and make me feel like I'm going to burn in hell or something, And, even praise and worship, they're like, you're not holding your hands up. You're not doing this right. And so, like, I never understood what all that meant, there was no love. It was all about the performance or whatever. And not saying that there were some genuine people there, but those are the memories that I have, the stuff that stuck out that I remembered. So yeah, childhood, it just wasn't there. And my mom and dad definitely were finding their own path as well. And they were great parents and are still great parents, but they just didn't, they didn't have anybody to show them either. And so I'm not going to sit there and take credit, but it was whenever I turned probably 21 that I came to Christ, and it wasn't too long after that my mom started coming with me. My dad never really went, but he would talk about it a little bit more, and that's fine. I mean, it didn't bother me. Everybody's on their own path. But yeah, it was about in my early 20s whenever I came to Christ, a little church in Collinsville that I got invited to, and it was still, pretty overwhelming, but yeah.
So once you got saved, did you feel like a radical change in your life or walk with Christ? And then I want you to kind of go into what made you turn off to Christ after that.
So I came to Christ and was really trying to figure it out, take the right steps. So you think in your mind, you're like, I'm doing all the things, I'm checking the boxes. There's quite a bit that happened, and quite a bit that I could say. There's quite a bit of people that I could probably easily put the blame on. And it makes it easier, right? I mean, either we blame the people or we blame God. And I am just awesome enough to do all of that at one time. And, there are times where I keep thinking, if I was raised with the foundation of God, would all of those things have happened to me? Would I have struggled so much and struggled with my self-worth and put my faith into a lot of the wrong people? And I don't know, but now getting to be here and sitting where I'm sitting, I'm so thankful that all these things happened the way they happened, because I get to love bigger because of it. And, I remember just being so angry because God didn't give me everything that I wanted. And that's just the truth. I felt like I was doing all the right things. And I remember just being on my knees praying for him to fix my mess. And I didn't understand after years of being faithful that he wouldn't fix my mess. And I ran as far and fast as I could. And, I was part of a church wonderful church it is, but they didn't see me. And as soon as I said, I'm getting a divorce, man, it was just everybody turned their back on me. And I maybe I outcast myself in a way too, because I felt like a failure. But there wasn't anybody who really just saw where I was. And I know there were a few friends there that kept me afloat at times, but I was just so angry. And then 2020 happened, and COVID happened. And man, was that not the most perfect excuse to stop going to church and being involved. And honestly, I was just so happy because I was constantly involved in something, or, it was funny how many people would ask you to help with things, but you were just an extra set of hands, and that got exhausting. And so just to set it all down and walk away, man, I wasn't sad about it. And then my son was saying that he missed being part of a church. And he needed it. And if you know me or you know my son, he's the most important thing to me. And he's the thing that probably kept me alive a lot of times. Just kept my head above water because he needed me. And he needed me to be here. He needed me to be part of a church because I was always that church mom for him. And then all of a sudden it stopped, and he could feel it too. And he's so smart and so in tune and emotionally mature. And so he can zero in on it almost immediately. And so it was amazing to me that I think this all happened within the same week. But he started asking me, Mom, when are we going to start going to church again? And I remember, I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I walk in the other room, and I'm like, oh, crap. No, I don't know. I can't do this again. Why is he asking me to do this? And I'm not ready. And at the same time, I was thinking about, what is it? It was those that turn their children away from God. I can't remember where it is, but it was basically tie yourself to a stone and throw yourself in the lake. I don't know, some scripture, something like that. It popped in my head, and I was terrified. You're right, God. Even though I'm a mess, I can't do this to him. So fine, I'll figure it out. And in that same week, Jamie from church, she was like, hey, Dana, her spazzy self that I love. And she's just like, you got to go to this church with me. And I think she's been asking me for a while, but she was like, you got to go. And she was like, Stephanie, you know her. And I'm like, Stephanie? She's a pastor? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, but she's so real. She doesn't come off as a pastor. She's so laid back. And so I was sitting there going okay, it's a small church. This can be really easy. I'll just go in. And I remember walking into church and going okay, I'm here. You better not expect anything from me, God. But I'm at least going to sit here. It's all for him. And that was a year and a half ago. And a year and a half of stubborn behavior has just changed my life. And just every time we go to women's group, every time Pastor Chase talks, there's just this chipping away of that wall that I've been struggling to hold up for a long time because I'm so scared that it's all gonna hurt again. And man, it's just our women's group is so real. And I could say things I never thought I would admit to anybody. And all of us can, and just peel back every layer. And it's so liberating. It's just, like I said earlier, like I felt Wednesday night, I felt like I let go of 1,000,000 pounds. And I walked out of there freer than I have felt in a very long time. And I'm just so thankful. I'm thankful that my son was strong enough to say, hey, we need to be at church. I'm thankful that he brought me here because he knew, and he's been here the whole time. And I'm thankful that in my time, he's just loved me through every single step, and that all of you have been doing the same, and you see me. And that's the biggest thing, because you can invite people to come to church or rally around, but just seeing someone and just seeing where they are and loving them where they are, that's how you change lives. And that's exactly what's happening here. People are getting seen. Oh, poo.
Great time. Mood shots. I'm just kidding. Don't put that in my face.
Just gonna adjust this real quick just for a second.
That really encapsulated it all. What would you say to somebody who was as angry as you were and as turned off to God as you were and had all the excuses as to why you felt like God, justification for why you felt like that? What would you say to that person?
If you are angry, I get it. But through the last several years of just being angry and angry at God and not knowing if I can just trust Him with my heart and with my truth, and I've realized that I'm really just angry with myself. And I get that you're hurt. I get that you're hurting. And some of us hurt so much deeper. I don't know. I feel like Pastor Chase's message a couple of weeks ago when he was talking about sometimes we're just wanting to run up the hill, run up the mountain. And I feel like I've been doing that this whole time. I thought I was being really strong and I was going hard and I didn't need God. I can do this. And I was running hard and I had a lot of success. And you get to the top and then you realize there's just another dang mountain there. And you're like, crap. And it's exhausting. It gets so exhausting. Because what you're really running up is just your hurt and your anger. And you're just running to beat that because you think you can do this, and just go. And when Pastor Chase was like, he just wants to grab your hand and take you for a walk. And I felt God say that to me. He was like, Dana, aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of hurting and running from me? He's like, just take my hand and take a gentle walk with me. And I just felt like I could breathe for the first time in a long time. And it's these little bits every Sunday, these little bits every Wednesday. It's not like the hurt just stops or that it's all fixed and it's all okay, because I'm still pretty angry sometimes. But I'm not alone anymore. I'm not alone here. I'm not alone, and he never left me. And it was so hard to understand that. And he's just plucking me gently, and I just got to realize that. And everyone else who's hurting, just take a deep breath and go for that walk and stop running. I mean, he's going to figure it out for you anyway. Like, you'll get there eventually. But, man, taking several years off, you realize how much time you spend in that place. It's tough.
Well, I got everything.
If you had one word to describe your faith now versus then.
My faith now. One word.
And why?
In one word. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. One word to describe my faith now versus then. I'd say it's authentic. Like, there's a part of me that I look at all of the I'm a doer. Like, I have to have a checklist, and you check the things off, and you do the thing, and I'm even that person that I do something and then I add that to the list just so I can check it off so that I feel better about myself. And I think my walk with Christ was a lot like that, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know where to start. So me being me, you make the checklist, you do the things, you go on Sunday, and then there, part of it. And that's all good, because you got to start somewhere. But I was doing it all for the wrong reasons. And I'm a massive people pleaser. So there was a lot of people that I felt like, oh yeah, I need to be there for that, And now you come to some place like Rise Church, and you don't get away with anything. Like, you don't, you can only hide for so long before those layers are slowly peeled back. And you can't fake it here. You just can't. And the reason, it's not like, it's just that it's so real. Like, your relationship is real. And it's because you don't have to say all the right things, do all the right things. There's no checklist here. You can't wait to show up and hug everybody. You can't wait to, just grow with your friends, really. And there was a time, there were some times, especially, my gosh, fall, I was having a really tough time. And I was really trying to run, because it was getting too real, maybe. A lot of things were shifting, and it's either you get on the train or the train was going to be leaving, and I did not want the train to leave. I wanted to be on that train. And in order to do that, sometimes you got to be real with yourself, and you got to admit some stuff to yourself. And I'm thankful for these girls here. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for a really safe place to just put the ugly out there, and we can be crying one minute and laughing hysterically the next. It all just feels like peace. And that's what you guys bring here. You're saving people's lives.
Just need to tell Chase to come here for words of affirmation, you know? I feel like $1 million now. All right.
Last one, and I want you to think about this. If you're inviting someone here,
Okay.
what do you tell them? Because what you're describing is scary to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be real.
Right.
We have this superficial self that we carry. But
Yeah.
how do you tell someone, hey, you need to come, well, let me rearrange that. You need to come to church with me because blank.
Okay. I like this because it's really put a big challenge on me in the last couple of weeks, because, like, you know, you start to feel good again. You feel good and you want other people to feel good. So it gets like really, I mean, you've met Angie. Her joy is so addictive. And Wednesday night, I love getting to hang out with Angie just because she's just, you know, I'm like, God, I want to just love like that, you know. And so it's really not hard to want to invite people here. And that's because there's no pressure. And I've been inviting like crazy here lately. I've just been on fire, which is so not like me. Normally I'm just pretty like reserved, and like if somebody asks, then maybe I'll say something. But now when I think about inviting people, I'm just like, hey, you know, come. If anything, I'm like, come to women's group. Like, we have the goofiest women's group, and we're a big group of misfits. And that's what we like to joke around and call ourselves, because we are like a mixing pot of people, but we love so big, and it's just such a safe place. And so whenever I can just like feel some of that pain, like you can feel it when people walk in the door and you know they're carrying something really, really heavy, because we've all carried something really, really heavy. And it's like, I don't know, like I'm dying for them to just let it go. And once you have a taste of that, you want everybody to have it. So just, you know, inviting people here is pretty easy anymore. And I would just say, like, if you're looking for a place where, you know, you don't have to hide who you are and pretend to be somebody else. Like, you can just come as you are. You can be angry. You can say, you know what, I don't think that's right. Or, like, I don't understand what you're trying to say. I don't understand, like, what God is trying to say, or what God means here. Or, like, you know, I have so many doubts, and I think you remember me coming a year and a half ago where I'm going like, man, I have so many doubts. Like, I'm not going to be the right person to be in your group. And you're like, just come anyway. And there's people like Paige, oh my gosh. And she was like, oh no, you're perfect for the group. Just come. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to be poison for the group because I'm too angry inside. And she's like, oh no, you're going to be great. And she's like, just say whatever you want to say. I'm like, what if I cuss a little? And she's like, oh well. And so I do. But I am myself, and I love that, because I don't have to be like, okay, like here we are at church and everybody's happy in Jesus and kumbaya. It can be like coming in, loving on each other, And you realize, like, man, I got a lot of stuff to carry, but the girl sitting next to me, she's carrying it too. And all of a sudden, like, you're linking arms and you're just going to do it together. I mean, this morning in church, we're in this circle, and I'm just sitting here going, like, thank you, God, for giving me this place and these women to battle with, and these women to be honest with and real with. Like, if that's what you need, you got to come and check us out. That's what you need. That's what you're going to get here.